Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. On behalf of the News First, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Sathyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Sri Lanka's COVID-19 caseload continues to rise. Will travel restrictions be tightened?
15,000
doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccine arrive in the island. Discussions on obtaining approval for the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine still up in the air. Parliamentary debate on the Port City Economic Commission bill postponed as the Speaker is yet to receive the Supreme Court's determination of the bill. A mother and 2 children fall to their death in Katana.
Main sponsor.
Cargios Online, delivering groceries on time, always.
On to your lead story this evening. Sri Lanka's total number of COVID-19 cases reached 111,826, following the detection of 1,150 cases today.
Sri Lanka recorded its highest toll of daily infections yesterday, with the figure standing at 1,923. 13 COVID-19 deaths were reported yesterday, raising the death toll in the country up to 709. The Health Ministry said that 12 deaths confirmed yesterday were due to pneumonia that was caused as a result of COVID-19. Official figures indicate that 99,153 individuals have recovered from the virus, while 14,964 are still under medical care. What are the areas in which restrictions have been imposed?
Certain Grama Niladhari divisions in the districts of Nuwara, Gampaha, Ratnapura, Colombo and Kalutara were placed under isolation this morning. Accordingly, the Industry Grama Niladhari division in the Norwood Police jurisdiction in the Nuwara district and the Fordeswatha area in the Hatton Police jurisdiction were placed under isolation. The Eldenia Church Road and Ranaviru Dharmasiri Mawatha in the Gampaha district were also placed under isolation. The Gangulvitiya Grama Niladhari division in the Ratnapura district, the Pothupitiya North Grama Niladhari division in the Rakwana Police jurisdiction and the Hapugoda Grama Niladhari division in Kalawana were also placed under isolation. The Villoravatha Grama Niladhari division in the Moratumulla area in the Colombo district are under isolation at present. Other areas with similar restrictions include the 728C, 728D, 729B, 728F and the 728A divisions in the Bobuala Grama Niladhari divisions in the Kalutara district.
Operations were carried out today to monitor whether passengers travelling on long-distance buses from the Western Province were adhering to COVID-19 guidelines. Police officers took steps to offer drinks for passengers during the operation.
කරුණාකර ඔබතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න අපි අනියත බියක් ඇති කරගත යුතු නැතිද මේ අවස්ථාවේදී
මම අනියත බියක් ඇති කරගත
I have said that there is no need to create unnecessary fear. However, a certain amount of fear must be present due to the infection. A massive danger has raised its head once again. The new virus mutant is spreading rapidly and causing more complications among infected individuals, unlike the previous strain of the virus. Therefore, all of us must be cautious of this as well.
අපි සෑම කෙනෙක්ම ප්‍රවේශම් වෙන්නටත් අවශ්‍යයි.
කොරෝනා 19 ව්‍යාප්තිය පිළිබඳව රජයේ මතය මොකක්ද?
කොවිඩ් 3 වන රැල්ලේදී මේ වෛරස්
We have clearly identified that the virus is spreading rapidly during the third wave of the COVID-19 infection. The virus mutant is causing more infections and is showing a tendency of causing more complications. Therefore, health officials are holding discussions and issuing directives on whether the infected individuals must be directed to a tertiary care center or an immediate care center during this period. We believe that the environment required to manage the situation has been created in the country.
ඔය කළමනාකරණය කර ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පසුතලය රටේ සකස් වෙමින් තිබෙනවා කියන කාරණය.
දැන් මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂකරුන්ගේ සංගමය පවා ගොඩක් සෞඛ්‍යවේදීන් සමහරලාට කියන ඔබතුමාලාට සංචරණ සීමා පනවන්න කියලා. ඇයි ඔබතුමාලා මේක කනකට ගන්න නැත්තේ? දැන් මේක ඉන්දියාවක් වගේ වුණොත් මේකේ වගකීම බාරගන්නේ කවුද එමෙතුමා?
රජය තමයි වගකීම් බාරගන්නේ ඕනම කටයුතු.
The government must bear the responsibility for any matter. There is no doubt in that. Future decisions will be made based on the advice of the health authorities. We will review the situation accordingly.
සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අවශ්‍ය පසුවිපරම් සිදු කරනවා.
ඒ වගේම එමෙතුමා මේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේදී කිසියම් සාකච්ඡාවක් ආවේ නැද්ද රට පුරාම සංචරණ සීමා පනවන්න?
දැන් ඒක සමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒක කොවිඩ්
Such matters are usually discussed with the COVID-19 task force. We are of the stance that decisions must be made in phases based on what the situation demands. The situation tomorrow might be different from the situation that we are facing today. Therefore, new decisions can be made in such an instance. The necessary steps are being taken to analyze this situation.
ඒ තියෙන තත්ත්වයන් විශ්ලේෂණය කරමින් පාලනය කටයුතු කරමින් සිටිනවා.
The stance of the Sri Lanka Medical Association.
අපිට පේනවා මේ රෝගීන් අඳුනා ගැනීම සෑම දිනකම කිසිම පාලනයකින්
We can observe that the number of infections are increasing daily without any form of control. When approximately 1,800 patients are being reported daily, we can assume that the number of infected individuals may be 2 or 3-fold of what is reported. Based on our medical experts, an entire family would be infected when one person contracts the virus, unlike the previous strain in which the other family members may not test positive for the infection. That is because the new strain is spreading rapidly. There are difficulties in transporting individuals to hospitals. Since hospitals are filling up rapidly, the government must impose the maximum possible restrictions while only allowing essential services to operate in the country.
රජය විසින් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ගත යුතුයි කියන මතය අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා වෛද්‍ය සංගමයේ විදිහට ඉන්නවා.
An adjournment debate was held in Parliament today concerning the threat of COVID-19 in the country and its rapid transmission.
කෘත්‍රිම සැනසීමක් රට තුළ ඇති කරන්නට PCR පරීක්ෂණ සීමා කරනවා.
PCR tests in the country were limited to create a false sense of relief within the country and announced a general election. What has happened today? The country is unsafe once more because of the third wave. However, they rose to power in order to ensure the safety of the country. National security is not ensured through guns, tanks and artillery. What was done with the COVID-19 fund? Was the health infrastructure of the island developed through it? Were the ICU beds increased? Were the number of ventilators increased? No. The government engaged in corona politics. First, they relied on rituals and pots. When that failed, they brought forward the tonic. While our country engaged in petty rituals, other nations scampered ahead and ordered vaccines. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Canada ordered 10 doses per citizen. They now possess a surplus of vaccines. We can obtain the vaccines our country requires from Canada. The incumbent government does not maintain relations as such. We were caught up in our pot and tonic fiasco and ultimately fell behind in ordering the vaccine. We are now being informed that a completely different vaccine will be administered in the second dose. Politicians decide the efficacy and safety of the vaccines. If the people are administered vaccines which have not been approved by the WHO, I consider it a criminal act. I regrettably state the government's corona politics has brought the country to its knees.
පුද්ගලිකව දකිනවා එක සාපරාධී ක්‍රියාවක්. මේ රජය කොරෝනා දේශපාලනය කිරීම නිසා අද මුළු රටම අන්ත අසරණ භාවයට පත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ කනගාටුවෙන් හෝ කියන්නට.
කොවිඩ් වසංගතය පාලනය කිරීම සඳහා අපගේ මූලික උපාය මාර්ගය වන්නේ
Our primary strategy to contain COVID-19 is vaccination. The WHO's directive is clear. If a stringent authority and a certain country's regulatory authority clear a particular vaccine for use, it can be used. In our country, the regulatory authority is the NMRA. That is why the NMRA decided to give the green light for the Sputnik vaccine to administer to the people. The NMRA provided its approval for the AstraZeneca vaccine and commenced vaccination on our people prior to the WHO granting approval for the relevant vaccine. Therefore, we placed an order for 13 million doses doses of the Russian Sputnik vaccine. The entire consignment of vaccine will be delivered to the island within this year in portions. Further, 8.4 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will be sent to us through the COVAX facility in the coming months. We have also ordered 5 million doses of the American Pfizer vaccine. We will take delivery of that consignment within this year. 600,000 doses of the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine are currently stored in the country. We possess the ability to fully vaccinate more than 60% of our total population before the end of this year.
I request the government to utilize the Nelum Pokuna Theatre to place beds and treat patients. Do not attempt to establish tertiary care centres because it contributes to the spread of the virus. Use the Millennium Building of the Colombo South Hospital.
කොළඹ දකුණු රෝහලේ මිලේනියම් බිල්ඩින් එක ඒක තියෙන තැන ඒ මිලේනියම් බිල්ඩින් එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඇඳන් දාන්න. අප්‍රේල් මාසේ 24 25 විතර වෙනකොට කොවිඩ් අරමුදලට.
From what we saw through the media, by the 24th or 25th of April, around 1 billion rupees had been donated to the COVID-19 fund. No information has been received on how the donations made to the fund were utilized until now. Even when the second wave came about, they were preoccupied with passing the 20th Amendment. We urged the government to rely on scientific fundamentals and to import the vaccine. Around 950,000 have been administered the first dose. Now they are short of vaccines to provide the second dose. I saw on TV Lalit Viratunga speaking of vaccines which will expire in May or June. Those too can only be administered to around 250,000 people. The other 600,000 will be rendered helpless. What hope do they have?
මේ වැක්සින් එක නැත්තම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලන්ට අබසරණයිද? රජය විමසිල්ලෙන් හිටපු නිසා ශ්‍රී ජයවර්ධනපුර විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ
The new strain was identified thanks to the government's vigilance and the efforts of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. We do witness a rapid rise in the number of cases. Our request from the people is to limit mobility. If you have to step outside, always wear a mask. We can contain this as a country if the support of the people is rendered to us. Many people speak of ICUs, HDUs and oxygen supplies. But most important thing is to control the spread of this virus through the support of the people.
ජනතාවගේ සහයෝගය ලබා දෙනවන එක ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත්.
If attention has been paid towards vaccination to curb the spread of COVID-19, what is the current status of the process to import vaccines to the country?
Russia's Sputnik vaccine.
Sri Lanka received 15,000 doses of the Russian Sputnik vaccine today after it received approval from the National Medicines Regulatory Authority. The cost of a dose is estimated to be approximately $10. Although the World Health Organization has not granted approval for the emergency use of the vaccine, nearly 15 countries, including Russia, are currently administering the jab in their respective nations.
We have signed an agreement to import 600,000 vaccines this month and 800,000 doses next month, making it a total of 1.2 million doses.
The AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured under the brand name Covishield in India.
This vaccine that has received the approval of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority costs about $4. The first dose of this vaccine was administered from the 29th of January among 928,107 individuals.
It would require 3 weeks after receiving the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine for a person to build up full immunity. It is clear that individuals who have received the first dose of the vaccine will not experience an acute stage of the illness. Their infection won't be severe as well. Therefore, I believe that this vaccine will provide us much needed protection to a great extent.
Only 117,571 individuals have received the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the country. The process of importing India's Covishield vaccine has slowed down as India continues to battle a surge in COVID-19 infections since recent days. There are countries which report a surplus in Covishield vaccines. We are holding discussions with such countries to swiftly purchase those vaccines and to explore the possibility of importing them. Since this pandemic is present across the World Health Organization has also paid attention towards the shortage of vaccines. This is why studies are being carried out to determine whether a person can receive 2 different vaccines for the first and second doses. We are reviewing these matters at present. Therefore, we hope that a solution can be provided to this matter in the near future.
The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine are the United States.
The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine costs around $20 a dose and involves a complex transportation and storage process. This vaccine is yet to be approved by the National Medicines Regulatory Authority.
Details on the Pfizer vaccine were received by the National Medicines Regulatory Authority yesterday. We will assess those details today and arrive at a decision on its usage. So far, we have no issues with the Pfizer vaccine. The Chinese Sinopharm vaccine.
The Sinopharm vaccine is priced at around $70 a dose. The World Health Organization or the National Medicines Regulatory Authority are yet to approve the usage of this jab. However, 600,000 Sinopharm vaccines that were brought down from China were administered among certain Chinese citizens in the country. A committee appointed by the National Medicines Regulatory Authority's committee had declared that permission cannot be granted to administer the jab.
We are not saying that the Sinopharm vaccine is harmful. It has been administered among tens of thousands of people. Our concern is that we haven't received the required data. We take certain factors into account. We consider whether the World Health Organization has granted approval or whether countries such as UK and the United States have approved the jab. If neither of that has taken place, we take phase 3 data into account. Since we were not provided the required data, we cannot make a decision. We cannot determine whether the vaccine is effective or not without studying the data.
There are 8 members in the committee, including Dr. Neelika Malavige. We unanimously made that decision since we are not in possession of the data. On the 17th of March, we issued a report stating that the vaccine cannot be approved without the third phase data. Therefore, we requested for the information to be given to us. However, Sisira Siribaddana decided to appoint a new committee and provide the data on the Sinopharm vaccine to them. I don't know whether the new committee has authorized it during the last 1.5 months.
A new committee was appointed by removing the 8 members of the previous committee that is studying the Sinopharm vaccine. I recall that this has happened on the 19th of March. Now our committee is not handling matters concerning the Sinopharm jab. We have to inquire from the new committee whether they have approved the jab.
I don't know whether they studied the data. The Sinopharm vaccine has been administered among 250 or 300 million people across the world. This has been identified as a vaccine with less side effects. Infections or deaths have not been reported from individuals who have received both doses of the vaccine. Therefore, I believe that the Sinopharm vaccine must be approved in Sri Lanka.
Actually, we are awaiting the approval from the World Health Organization for this Chinese vaccine for emergency use. We have 600 doses at hand at this particular moment. So if we get the approval from World Health Organization, we should be able to immunize 600,000 more people. And apart from that, we are receiving, the brand name is Sputnik.
A discourse has emerged on the arrival of Indian nationals to Sri Lanka in light of a surge in COVID-19 infections that is sweeping across India. 11 vessels carrying 86 illegal Indian immigrants who attempted to encroach into Sri Lankan waters was intercepted by the Sri Lankan Navy during a special patrol conducted in the seas south of Mannar. Upon informing the Indian High Commission and the Indian Coast Guard, the Navy said that the 11 vessels and 86 people on board were handed over to the Indian authorities. The Navy is said to carry out a 24-hour search operation to avoid the further spread of COVID-19 pandemic due to the illegal entry of immigrants to the island. Meanwhile, yesterday it was revealed that the transit quarantine facilities provided to Indians has not been suspended completely. We have not suspended it officially, but there can be temporary delays until we set up a proper program for this purpose. This decision will only affect the tourists who use the transit quarantine facility to travel back to the Middle East and other countries. But we have not suspended the entry of tourists, especially the investors, to the country.
Director General of Health Services expressed these views on the current situation of the COVID-19 pandemic today.
If the number of infections increase, we have to resort to other forms of imposing restrictions before heading into a countrywide lockdown. We might have to take decisions in the future if infections rise. A lockdown will be our last resort. However, we didn't go in for a countrywide lockdown during the second wave as well. I would like to request the people to remain inside their homes and to leave their houses only when essential. If they follow the health guidelines, we will be able to avoid going into a lockdown and bring the situation under control. However, we have to take the future decisions based on the number of infections. If we observe a spike in cases, the task force on COVID-19 that meets with the president will make the relevant decision. We haven't made any decision so far.
The parliamentary debate on the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill, which was scheduled to be held tomorrow, has been postponed. The postponement was announced as the Speaker is yet to receive the Supreme Court's determination on the Economic Commission Bill.
The Port City Economic Commission Bill had been discussed at a party leaders meeting which was held earlier today in Parliament. Our initial agreement was to debate it on Wednesday if the Supreme Court forwards its determination to the Speaker. Since it was not forwarded today, we decided to continue today's debate, which was requested by the opposition, and to debate on the current situation of the country. Even our MPs are eager to debate this matter in Parliament when the Supreme Court's determination is received. Everything which requires to be approved or passed will be done under our government in the future. We will not backtrack easily. They will witness it on their own when a poll is held. It was announced during the party leaders' meeting that the debate on the Port City Economic Commission Bill cannot be held tomorrow. However, an agreement was reached to hold the debate on 2 days next week. The opposition leader then made a request to continue the debate on the status quo of the country tomorrow as well. Hence, it was agreed to discuss the country's present situation tomorrow, while the Port City Bill will be debated on 2 days next week.
What is the government trying to do now? They were trying to pass the Port City Bill by Thursday. That is how the government is conducting itself. But the government had decided to limit the debate to 1 day, citing the COVID-19 pandemic. Based on the government's argument, Parliament cannot be convened on Thursday and Friday. But the government is conducting themselves to fulfill their destructive motives rather than in the best interests of the country's laws, the regulations, constitution, the public and ethics. The government can cite this as a turning point for the country's economy, but we can put forward other arguments over this. This includes the exemption of several acts, the administration of the area through a commission, the appointment of foreigners to the commission, the loss of voting rights for those residing in that area, the failure to include it under the country's administrative structure, the moves to provide several concessions, and the failure to bring it under the purview of the central bank. We also have an argument that this is being established to transform the area into a money laundering hub. Therefore, the government and the opposition need to put forward their views before the people. However, the government is acting with the intention of obstructing a constructive dialogue in the courts or the parliament. Therefore, the government's ploy itself is an indication of the dangers of that bill. They want to prevent these concerns from reaching the people.
From that, we cross over to a short commercial break. More news on the other side. Welcome back to the news. While various theatrics continue to be displayed on the political front, the lives of the people continue to become increasingly difficult amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. In a tragic turn of events, Sujiva, a resident of Katana, and 2 children lost their lives due to drowning when they had gone to pluck some greens.
For several years, the Halpevilla area in Katana was famous for pottery. Sujiva's husband, who used to earn a living through manual labor, had lost his job due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With no alternative, 42-year-old Sujiva decided to shoulder the responsibility of feeding her family, including her 2 children. As usual, Sujiva set off to Halpevilla on a motorcycle with her 9-year-old daughter and 8-year-old nephew to pluck some greens, hoping to sell them and earn an income.
There are several pits as a result of extracting clay. Several people visit this area to pluck greens. There are pits which are a little deep. This area becomes inundated when water levels rise. The river flows from the other side. The water is diverted towards this area when the water levels are high. The water levels had risen when they had been plucking kankun leaves. They had been unable to trace back their path.
The villager who retrieved the bodies of the 3 individuals expressed emotional remarks while recalling the incident. The water in the Maoya continues to flow undisturbed, the problems and the worries of the people.
The results of the 2020 GCE Advanced Level Examinations were released today.
301,777 candidates sat for the GCE Advanced Level Examination under the new and old syllabus in 2020. The Department of Examination said that 194,297 candidates qualified for university entrance. The results of 86 candidates who sat for the examination have been placed on hold. The results can be accessed by visiting www.donets.lk, the official website for the Department of Examination. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has approved the revision of dates for the GCE Advanced Level and GCE Ordinary Level examinations. Education Secretary Professor Kapila Pereira stated that the Ordinary Level examinations will be held in August, while the Advanced Level examination will be held in December, starting from 2023.
We leave it tonight with the remarks expressed by the Tamil National Alliance parliamentarian S.R. Rasamanikam in Parliament today. On behalf of the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan, along with sign language interpreter Brandy Cruz and producer Jama Ratnayaka. Take care and good night.
The Epilogue.
The government must bear the responsibility for nearly 700 people who have died. Just as the Presidential Commission was appointed to investigate the April 21st attacks, I wish to state that an investigation must be carried out to identify the individuals responsible for these deaths and to punish them. The first wave of COVID-19 struck the country due to their hurry to conduct the parliamentary elections. If they had placed the country under a lockdown and delayed the closing date for handing over nominations, we remember that there was a possibility that it could have affected the alliance between the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. The country's economic downfall also began with the first wave. The second wave struck in October. Between March and October, only 20 or 30 individuals had died due to the virus. I would like to call the second wave as one that was caused due to the 20th Amendment. Although they knew that there was a cluster in Minuanguda, they did not place the country under lockdown and focused on the 20th Amendment to cover up their shortcomings. The third wave is called the Port City wave. Parliament was not convened this week to discuss about the COVID-19 pandemic. For the sake of taking up the second reading of the Port City Bill tomorrow, they allocated today's debate for the COVID-19 pandemic. Now someone is going to be reprimanded by the President for scheduling the debate without inquiring whether the Parliament has received the Supreme Court's determination on the Port City Bill. Ultimately, the debate on COVID-19 has been extended until tomorrow. We are on the verge of defaulting our debt repayments in June or July, but they are going to carry out the beautification of our country. There are no ICU beds. There are problems concerning oxygen as well. Instead of deceiving the common man by coming up with the development projects, engage in something that is required by Sri Lanka. I'm a Tamil. The LTTE member is on your side. That is Pillayan. Don't bark like a dog. Don't bring them to Parliament.